Hi, I'm Steve Sample with Bama Talk. Don't miss a single episode of Bama Talk Show, available now on iTunes, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast app, and on the web at bigbrainsmedia.com.
This is your Weather Xtreme video for Sunday, March the 10th. I'm meteorologist Brian Peters. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you set your clock forward. I did, but just had to sleep in a few minutes extra. There's a look at our Skycam shot from the Birmingham Skycam from the Alpha Skycam network, and some clouds visible there. We do see that there are a few breaks in the clouds when you look at the Fayette Skycam, certainly getting at least a little sunshine poking through. Quick look at the satellite image, and you can see that it is going to be a day where we're going to see clouds and sun off and on, kind of back and forth as clouds are moving across the area. Much of the weather systems that are going on in the country are to our west and northwest right now. Those will be moving in and bringing a bit of a stormy day to us for Monday. The big culprit in the upper atmosphere, of course, is the closed low we've been watching coming out of the southern Rockies, and that is coming out vigorously with a pretty good storm system. That storm system, of course, responsible for a number of winter weather advisories all the way from extreme western Kansas all the way up into the western Great Lakes area, with a number of winter weather warnings, as well as I think a couple of blizzard warnings included in that area. And overnight, last night, we did have a few severe thunderstorm warnings and a couple of tornado warnings down in Texas. The temperatures across the country have certainly surged some warmth northward into the Ohio River Valley. These are the temperatures at about 5 a.m. this morning, and certainly looking at temperatures in the lower 50s into the Ohio River Valley for March for morning temperatures. Wow, those are pretty warm. Looking at temperatures close to home, we're certainly mild this morning, on the order of about 10 to 12 degrees warmer than we were yesterday morning, with temperatures generally in the 50s across the area, kind of ranging from the lower 50s to the upper 50s. Radar showing that we do have, once again, some patchy pockets of rain over Mississippi and Alabama, but most of those pockets are still not reaching the ground. The bulk of the rain is still well back to the west and expected to move into the Alabama probably in the vicinity of midnight tonight. QPF-wise, we're still looking at on the order of 1 to 2 inches of rain for us with this system as it moves by slowly. For day one, Storm Prediction Center is only watching an area centered primarily on Louisiana, where they have C-text, no specific slight risk area. And then day two, there is no organized severe thunderstorms and no C-text areas as well, and only expected along the Alabama Gulf Coast. All right, let's take a look at modeling from the 060 GFS model run, and let's follow along our surface low. There's the surface low at 18Z today, which now that we're on daylight savings time is now 1 p.m. It'd probably take me about 6 months to get used to that. And we can see the surface low in northeastern Missouri with a trailing cold front down into the Arklatex region and down into the vicinity of Houston. By midnight tonight, you can see that the surface low has moved up just a little bit west of Chicago, and the cold front passing into Mississippi with much of the rain just a little bit ahead of that. And that means the rain moving into our state around midnight tonight, maybe a little bit before, but certainly midnight. And then by 18Z, 1 o'clock on Monday, we see that the system moving by very slowly. Surface low has moved up into the central Great Lakes region, with the cold fronts dragging down through the southeastern U.S. And then by midnight on Monday night, it looks like much of the weather has finally cleared our state. Taking a look quickly at whether or not we're going to have severe weather, and it looks like the potential is just not there this time. There's a look at the Cape values as projected by the GFS, and certainly Cape values enough to support rain and maybe a little bit of thunder, but certainly nothing of any significance showing up there. It kind of gets focused a little bit when you look at lifted indices, and the lifted index just another one of those instability values, but certainly showing up. The strongest instability will be in the south part of Alabama along the Gulf Coast, but it's one of those high shear environments, once again, as you notice from the helicity values off the NAM, that it certainly has got some pretty good helicity value, so the shear is up there, but the Cape just is not good enough. So we're not expecting anything in the way of severe weather. We move out in the upper atmosphere to Wednesday, and the trough has gone by, and the closed low has opened up a little bit, and so it's an open trough. And now we're under a northwesterly flow, so we should cool down nicely on Wednesday. And you can see that the bulk of the cold air shifting into the Carolinas, but we're kind of on the edge of that northwesterly flow, so we get some of it. By Thursday, the northwesterly flow is firmly planted over us. It stays there even on Friday, but it's beginning to weaken a little bit, so we're going to see a gradual warming trend, and I think by Saturday we're going to be approaching probably upper 60s, lower 70s once again for temperatures. And then on Sunday, we can see that the ridge is still the main player in the central part of the country, so at least the latter part of the weekend looks like it's going to be fairly nice and should be dry. GFS kind of painting some sort of precipitation in the Ohio River Valley, but I don't know, I don't see a great deal of support for much other than a few clouds for our area. Now, looking out into Voodoo country, we see that there's a big ridge around the 20th, and certainly it looks like from over the weekend and into the first of the next week that we're going to be dry. However, that big system out there to the west is expected to come by us around the 21st, 22nd, and so that looks like another wet period. But then we dry back out again with another ridge, and this is around 372 hours. This is the 25th of March. So it looks like for the most part, while yesterday the GFS was suggesting a dominant southwesterly flow, which could be wet, it looks like the GFS is now back to a more of a ridge pattern that's just to our west, so we're not under the southwesterly flow quite as strongly, so it looks like it could be a fairly dry period. So it looks like March might end up not being so wet as we saw for January and February. Well, that'll do it for the Weather Extreme video for today. James Spann should be back with the next edition first thing on Monday morning. In the meantime, stay tuned to the blog for the latest updates on the weather, and keep that umbrella handy for Monday. I'm meteorologist Brian Peters. Thanks for tuning in, and Godspeed.
Thank you for trusting us to be your #1 source for news
in all of Central Alabama.
in back-to-back ratings periods.
More people watched ABC 3340
than any other station in Birmingham.